They called me useless. Now I employ 100 people. There was a time Chijioke didn't want to wake up in the morning. Not because he was lazy, no, he had long lost the luxury of laziness, but because waking up meant facing another day of failure, another reminder that his life was going nowhere fast. In 2017, he was 24, broke and stuck in Ajagunle, one of Lagos' most unforgiving neighborhoods. His father had died when he was 15. His mother, a petty trader selling roasted corn and groundnuts, had done her best to keep him in school, but even her best couldn't carry him past his second failed JAMB attempt. He woke up each morning in a one-room apartment with cracked walls, peeling paint, and a zinc roof that groaned during rain. He shared the space with his mother, his younger sister, and a haunting sense of inadequacy. Their kerosene stove barely worked. The entire family shared one mattress, and the ceiling fan hadn't turned on in over a year. Most days, their breakfast was nothing more than gari and water. When there was sugar, it felt like Christmas. Chijioke's phone was a battered Nokia torchlight. No social media, no WhatsApp, no voice notes, just missed calls from people he owed, and messages from telcos reminding him of a debt he never planned to pay. He would sit outside their house, elbows on his knees, staring blankly as kids played football in the sandy, pothole-filled streets. Neighbors greeted him with a mixture of pity and irritation. Some crossed the road just to avoid exchanging pleasantries, as if his lack of progress was contagious. One afternoon, with his slippers already worn thin and his shirt faded to a gray that used to be white, Chijioke walked over to his uncle's house in the next street. He had heard his uncle had recently gotten a contract with the local government and was doing well. Chijioke waited under the mango tree in the compound for nearly an hour. When the uncle finally stepped out, Chijioke stood up eagerly and greeted him with both hands. "Uncle, good afternoon, sir." His uncle looked at him from head to toe and scoffed. "What do you want?" I came to see if you can help me, even if it's small. I want to start something. Anything. Just..." Before he could finish, his uncle raised his hand. "Stop embarrassing yourself, Chijioke. Help you? With what? You're just roaming around. No degree, no skill, always asking. You'll never make it. You hear me? Never." Chijioke's mouth went dry. His knees weakened slightly, but he forced a nod and whispered, "Okay, sir." Then he turned and walked away, fast but not fast enough to unhear the chuckle from behind. That night, he didn't speak a word to anyone at home. His mother kept asking if he was all right, but he simply lay down and turned his face to the wall, eyes open until morning. But life, cruel as it was, didn't pause. The next day brought hunger again. And with that hunger came a decision. Around 10 a.m., while walking aimlessly past the market, he saw a girl, maybe 16, carrying a heavy tray of plantain chips on her head. Her dress was torn at the shoulder, and her slippers were mismatched. Yet her voice rang with confidence as she hawked, "Fresh plantain chips, sweet like mama's love." Chijioke paused. Something about her energy stung him. She caught him staring and smiled. "Oga, you no want support hustle? Just 50 naira." He laughed quietly, shook his head and whispered, "If only you knew I no even get 20 naira. But something happened to him that day. That girl reminded him of something he had buried beneath pity and shame, dignity and hustle. That evening, he approached his mother with a bold request. "Mama, please. I need 2,000 naira. I want to start selling recharge cards." His mother stared at him long and hard. "Are you sure?" she asked gently. He nodded. She opened her wrapper, untied a corner, and pulled out a small bundle of worn naira notes. She counted the money, 250 naira, and handed it all to him. "This is all I have. Make it count." And so the next day, Chijioke became a street vendor. He stood outside a busy bus stop with a tiny wooden board, recharge cards clipped to it with pegs, and a borrowed umbrella to shade him. He shouted, "MTN, Airtel, Glow, come load your line." People ignored him at first. Some mocked him. One man spat near his feet and muttered, "Young boys no get shame again." But Chijioke didn't flinch. He made 700 Naira profit that day. The next, 1,200 Naira. He kept showing up. He added sachet water to his sales. Then plantain chips. Eventually, he carried his goods in a transparent nylon bag, weaving through traffic, dodging LASTMA officials, chasing customers' change. One rainy afternoon, a former secondary school classmate spotted him selling at mile 2. "Ah, CEO, now you be this? "See as you day shine," the guy joked, snapping a picture on his phone. Chijioke smiled politely, but the shame nearly broke him. That photo circulated in a WhatsApp group that same night with the caption, "From class captain to traffic hawker, life no balance." Chijioke nearly quit. He sat at the edge of the third mainland bridge one night, watching the water swirl below. He didn't want to jump, not quite, but he wondered what would happen if he just disappeared. But again, something small pulled him back, that girl's voice. Oga, support hustle. He decided, if I'm already this low, I might as well try anything. He began spending 100 naira per hour at a cybercafe near Boundary Market, watching free YouTube tutorials about phone repair. The videos buffered endlessly. He wrote notes on scraps of paper. He practiced with spoiled devices he begged from shop owners. His first few repairs were disasters. One time, he tried to fix a power bank and caused a small fire. Burned his fingers. But he kept learning. Soon, someone trusted him with a faulty charger. He fixed it and got 500 naira. Then a power bank. Then a broken earpiece. His repairs worked. He used the money to buy second-hand tools from a trader in Computer Village. He converted a piece of cardboard into his shop sign and set up outside a barber's kiosk. He sat under a faded umbrella with a plastic stool, offering phone repairs for as little as 200 naira. Passers-by still called him CEO, but now the laughter was quieter. Some customers returned, some referred him. In 6 months, he had saved nearly 30,000 naira. He wasn't rich, far from it. But for the first time in his life, he saw something that tasted sweeter than money. Progress. He hadn't made it, not yet. He still had battles to fight. But as the year came to a close, with Harmattan in the air and dust coating the streets, Chijioke stood at that same mango tree in front of his uncle's house, not to ask for help, but to walk past with his toolbox in hand, head held high. The uncle peered from his balcony, shocked. Chijioke didn't stop. He simply muttered under his breath, "You said I'd never make it. Good, keep watching." And with that, the boy once called useless stepped into the next chapter of his fight for purpose. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe for more enticing stories from Tales Unfolded. Let's continue. It was early 2018, and the winds had changed. Not dramatically, but just enough for Chijioke to feel it in his bones. Every morning, he woke with purpose. He no longer slept until 9 a.m. or waited for hunger to move him. By 6:30 a.m., he was out, toolbox in one hand, nylon bag of biscuits and water in the other. His roadside corner had become something of a landmark in the area. That small boy wasabi repair phone. But growth is never linear. One day, a customer came with an Infinix phone that had fallen into water. Chijioke tried a new method he saw on YouTube the night before. Rice absorption followed by board clean. It worked. The man paid 1,500 naira and returned 2 days later with a friend. Now this guy fix am. E-day work fine. Word spread. Soon, he had people calling to ask if they could drop off phones. His big just win came when a local secondary school teacher brought a cracked screen and Chijioke successfully replaced it using parts he sourced from a seller in Computer Village. He charged 5,000 naira. That one job paid his mother's rent and fed the family for 2 weeks. But with small success came envy. There was a boy, Emeka, who used to sit near him when he started. Emeka never really hustled, but he was friendly and talkative. As Chijioke's client list grew, Emeka started staying longer around his spot, asking questions, joking with customers. "Omo, this your hustle donde move-o?" One day, Emeka pitched an idea, bulk repair. "Make we gather money, buy plenty faulty power banks, fix them and sell. We go clean up." Chijioke was skeptical. "But how we go do am?" Emeka smiled widely. "I know one man for Alaba Market. He gets connections. You bring 40,000 naira. I go arrange everything. We go run the work inside 2 weeks. Chijioke didn't sleep that night. 40,000 naira was everything he had saved in 8 months. But the dream of flipping it into more, into something real, overwhelmed his caution. He agreed. 3 days after handing over the money, Emeka disappeared. His number stopped going through. The Alaba contact was a ghost. Chijioke walked the market for hours, asking questions, showing Emeka's picture, begging people. Nothing. It was like trying to catch smoke. For 2 weeks, he didn't open his stall. He stayed indoors, staring at the cracked ceiling, fists clenched. His mother didn't ask questions. She simply made sure he ate something daily. Tola, the food vendor next to his kiosk, noticed. She sent her younger brother to bring him a plate of jollof rice and fried fish. No charge, just support. That night, Tola knocked on his door. She didn't come in. She just said, "People go disappoint you. But if you stop, you don't prove them wrong. You prove them right." It was the same message he heard in that plantain chip girl's voice months ago. He returned to his corner the next day, toolbox in hand, shoulders heavy, but mind clear. He started from scratch again. But this time, he was sharper, more intentional. Then came an unexpected lifeline. One Sunday afternoon, as he fixed a charging port for a woman in front of her shop, he noticed a banner across the road. Free Youth Business Seminar. Learn sales, branding, and mindset with Pastor Daniel, all welcome. He attended. It was held in a small church compound, not more than 50 people. Pastor Daniel wasn't preaching, he was teaching. He spoke of value, consistency, customer trust, and reinvesting profit. Chijioke was hooked. After the seminar, he stayed behind, asked questions, and even volunteered to help with future events. It was through that connection that he heard of a community entrepreneurship grant. Small money, 50,000 naira, for young people running real hustles. He applied, submitted pictures of his setup, wrote about his goals. A month later, he got the grant. He didn't celebrate, he invested. Bought a second-hand glass display shelf, got branded t-shirts that read "Fix It Empire," designed a basic price list and stuck it on the wall behind his stall. The transformation was small but powerful. People began to treat him like a business, not just a boy fixing gadgets. And then came Kunli. Kunli was 15, skinny, restless, and always hanging around. One day he approached Chijioke shyly. "Bros, I want learn. Make I dey follow you?" Chijioke hesitated. He wasn't sure if he could handle being a teacher, but something told him to try. He took Kunli in. Not formally, just had him watch and assist. Within 2 months, Kunli could change screens, fix ports, and clean boards. He even created a small jingle to attract customers. "Fix It Empire, your gadget, our passion." Customers laughed. Business grew. By late 2019, Chijioke was averaging 8,000 naira daily. He moved from the wooden stool into a small kiosk, paid 60,000 naira yearly, got new tools, hired a graphics guy to make flyers. It was around this time that his bond with Tola deepened. She had dreams too, of opening a proper canteen, leaving the roadside stress behind. They started talking late at night after work, shared meals, shared visions. She believed in him in a way no one else had. One evening, when rain trapped them in her cooking shed, she asked, "You ever think say you go make it?" He looked at her, rain pelting the roof. "Every day, but most days, I just dey pretend strong." She reached for his hand, squeezed it. "You're not pretending, you're surviving." But life doesn't reward dreams without trials. In early 2020, during a routine fix, Kunle mistakenly formatted a customer's phone. It was a wealthy man, his contact list, bank app, his data, all gone. The man exploded, shouted, threatened the police. Chijioke managed to calm him down, refunded 10,000 naira, and gave a free power bank. But afterward, he turned to Kunle in rage. "You don't think, you just rush. You want to scatter everything I've built." Kunle didn't respond. The next day, he didn't show up, or the next. Weeks passed. Chijioke felt hollow. For the first time in years, he questioned his leadership. One night, he walked to Kunle's house, met his mother. She said, "Kunle cried for days. He said he failed you." The next morning, Chijioke stood in front of his kiosk holding a loudspeaker. "Fix It Empire, where gadgets rise and people rise too, even Kunle." Customers stared. Then Kunle, standing in the crowd, stepped forward. They hugged. Business resumed. And then something unthinkable happened. In December 2020, Pastor Daniel invited Chijioke to co-host a youth skills training seminar. Over 150 young people came. Chijioke spoke about repair, hustle, and hope. After his talk, a man in a suit approached. "I run a youth foundation. We support small businesses with impact. Let's talk." They talked. They agreed. And just like that, Chijioke secured funding to open a second outlet in Surulere. He hired 5 new boys, bought uniforms, got signboards, business cards, tools. From a dusty corner in Ajagunle to 2 full kiosks, 10 apprentices, and over 50 clients a week. But this wasn't the end. This was just the making of a man. By 2021, Chijioke had grown from a boy with a borrowed umbrella to a name whispered in the tech corners of Lagos. People who used to walk past him now called ahead to book appointments. His second outlet in Surulere was already creating buzz, not just for the fast and quality repairs, but for the discipline and energy his team carried. He had a vision, not just to fix gadgets, but to build an empire that trained, employed, and empowered youths who, like him, had been written off. He woke every morning with a list: tools to order, apprentices to supervise, customers to call, budgets to adjust. He'd learned to use Excel. He even opened a business account. The first time he saw his name on an invoice that read "Fix-It Empire Nigeria Enterprises," he cried, silently, in the back of a Danfo bus. But growth brings pressure. Managing 2 outlets wasn't easy. Orders began to clash. One supplier delivered substandard charging cables that nearly caused a fire. One apprentice got into a fight with a customer. Chijioke realized he needed help managing operations. That's when he remembered Kemi, a quiet, intelligent girl he'd met at the pastor's seminar the year before. She ran a small digital design business and had a knack for numbers and structure. He reached out. She agreed to help him build a workflow, a simple system that tracked repairs, payments, apprentices' attendance, and inventory. Business became smoother. He introduced branded receipts, customer service hotlines, and warranty tags for repairs. His Facebook page gained traction. Someone made a funny TikTok video about Fix-It boys dancing after fixing an iPhone. It went viral. Suddenly, young people from outside Lagos were messaging, "Do you offer training? Do you have branches in Ibadan, Abuja?" Chijioke smiled. He wasn't there yet, but he was on his way. And then, just when it all seemed to be falling into place, a shadow from his past returned. His uncle, the same man who once said, "You'll never make it," walked into his Surulere shop, looking smaller somehow. His clothes were neat but tired. He cleared his throat, looking at the new glass counters, the neat uniforms, the humming of productivity around him. "Chijioke," he said almost hesitantly. Chijioke stood still. I hear you're doing well. My son, Ifeanyi, he's not doing anything. I was wondering if you could take him as an apprentice." For a moment, Chijioke said nothing. He remembered the mango tree, the laughter, the words. "You'll never make it." Then he smiled, not out of pride but peace. "Send him on Monday," he said quietly. "Let's start again." But peace doesn't last long when you're building something. In March 2022, Kunle made a terrible error. A woman brought in a Samsung phone that had a bank app installed. During the repair, Kunle accidentally deleted it and failed to back up her information. The woman, furious, claimed it cost her 75,000 naira in business. She screamed, threatened court, posted a Facebook rant that quickly went semi-viral. These so-called phone repair boys are frauds. It hit Chijioke hard, not just financially, emotionally. Kunle stopped coming. Again, customers paused, trust dipped. Some competitors used the scandal to lure clients. Chijioke sat in his office for days, silent. Tola came to him one night with a bottle of water and groundnuts. She sat beside him and said, "Do you remember when you couldn't afford Gary, and now your problem is bad publicity? That's not failure, love. That's progress in disguise." He shook his head. "I'm tired." "You're allowed to be," she said, "but not quit." And she was right. Chijioke did something radical. He made a video, sat in front of a camera, and told his story. Not the polished version, the raw one. From selling sachet water to the stolen 40,000 naira, to the burnt charger, to the pain of being called useless, and now to this recent mistake. The video spread, people commented, DMs flooded in, some scolded him, but more encouraged him. And then one man, a tech YouTuber based in Abuja, reposted the video with the caption, "This is what accountability looks like. Support Fix-It Empire." The tide turned again. Then came the biggest blow. His main warehouse, where he stored chargers, batteries, cables, and tools, was broken into. Millions of naira worth of goods gone. The gate was forced open. The security man was drugged. Chijioke arrived and sat on the cold floor, watching his life's work reduced to scattered cartons and police reports. Everything paused. Staff began calling in sick, some out of fear, others due to lack of work. Customers slowed. The momentum choked. For 2 weeks, Chijioke didn't speak much. He'd show up, stare at the shelves, and leave. Until one morning, Tola stood at the shop entrance holding a brown envelope. "What's that?" he asked. "Support," she said. "From my friend at a logistics firm. He heard your story. It's 300,000 naira to restock basic items. Not a loan, a seed." Chijioke's eyes filled up. He took the envelope, turned to his surviving staff and said, "We start again, just like we always have." Within days, he restocked the basics: chargers, cables, tools. He called each apprentice one by one, asked them to return. Then something unexpected happened again. One of his loyal online customers, a student in Unilag, started a GoFundMe campaign titled "Rebuild Fix-It Empire, a Nigerian Dream Worth Saving." In 5 days, they raised 1.2 million naira. Chijioke used it wisely, bought inventory, upgraded security, created a new apprentice program for out-of-school boys, began renting a bigger space in Yaba. By the end of 2023, Fix-It Empire was not only repaired, it was reborn. They had 3 locations, over 60 active clients weekly. 50-plus young people are either trained or training, and Chijioke, he wasn't just a technician anymore. He was a symbol of resilience, of what it means to fall hard and rise louder. But he wasn't done yet, because in his heart, he had one more goal: 100 jobs, 100 stories, 100 lives changed. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe for more enticing stories from Tales Unfolded. Let's continue. January 2024. The new branch in Yaba was finally open, a 2-story complex that smelled of fresh paint, filled with blinking indicator lights, glass showcases, and the faint hum of dreams reawakening. On the wall above the entrance was a bold signboard: "Fix-It Empire HQ, from the streets." For the streets. Inside, everything had changed. Employees wore clean, branded polos. There was a waiting area with a smart TV looping customer testimonials. There was even an on-site classroom upstairs, complete with whiteboards, sockets at every desk, and 12 battered but functional laptops Chijioke had refurbished himself. He walked into the building slowly that morning, not as a boy with nylon bags, not as someone they used to laugh at, but as a leader, as the man they now called Oga CJ. Apprentices lined up to greet him. Kunli, now taller, broader, more confident, supervised the training floor. Chijioke stepped into his small office, sat down and exhaled. He wasn't supposed to make it this far, but he had. Still, something within him remained unsettled. He had hit 60 employees across locations. Many had gone on to open their own micro repair shops, but he hadn't reached the number. The one that haunted him, drove him, tested him. 100. 100 jobs, 100 lives. That was the real target. So he got to work again. He launched a foundation called Street to Skill Initiative. Its mission was clear: to identify young Nigerians on the streets, hawkers, mechanics, dropouts, Okada riders, and offer them free repair training for 3 months, plus 100 naira startup kits afterward. It was ambitious, risky, costly, but it was necessary. He visited markets, held open interviews, asked questions like, "What's your biggest dream? Have you ever fixed anything with your hands? If I gave you a new life, what would you do with it?" He selected 10 candidates for the pilot batch. One was a single mother who used to sell rat poison in traffic. One was a boy who had run away from home in Calabar. Another was a girl, Grace, who had dropped out after SS2 because her parents said tech was for boys. He taught them, ate with them, practiced patience, fought frustration, watched them grow. By April, 8 of them had graduated. 6 started businesses. The other 2 joined Fix-It full-time. And with that, Chijioke's staff count rose to 72. Then came a phone call that would flip everything. "Hello, am I speaking to Mr. Chijioke, the founder of Fix-It Empire?" "Yes, this is he." "This is AIT. We'd like to invite you to appear on Nigerian Voices, our national business feature segment. We heard your story. The country needs it." At first, he thought it was a scam. But the email came minutes later, official and stamped. The following week, he sat under bright studio lights, wearing his best jacket, a navy blue coat he'd bought secondhand at Yaba Bend Down Select. He spoke calmly, confidently, telling his journey from sachet water seller to founder, from mock to mentor, from nothing to 72 employees. The video aired the next night. The next morning, his inbox exploded. NGOs, investors, parents, volunteers. A message from one woman stood out. "My son saw your interview and cried. He wants to be like you. Thank you for giving him someone to believe in." By July, Fix-It Empire had crossed 120 staff and apprentices. And then, in the most unexpected twist, came the final step. He was in a meeting with a logistics startup that wanted to partner with Fix-It for tech maintenance when a man in a sharp agbada walked in. "You probably don't remember me," the man said, removing his cap. Chijioke stared. It was his uncle. Older now, slower. But something in his eyes looked different. I just wanted to say, I was wrong, he said softly. You made it and more. There was silence, a long pause. Chijioke stood up, walked over, and hugged him. Thank you, he said, for doubting me. It made me fight harder. In October 2024, Fix-It Empire held a grand reopening ceremony. There were media cameras, speeches, testimonies, and music. Guests from across the country flew in. The apprentices from earlier years stood proud, now running their own shops, teaching others, or even working in tech startups. At the end of the event, as the crowd began to thin and the lights dimmed, Chijioke stood on a stage with a mic. He looked around the room, took a deep breath, and said, "There was a time I couldn't afford 500 naira to eat. A time people crossed the road to avoid greeting me. A time my own uncle told me, 'You'll never make it.' But that was then. Now I employ 157 people. People who were once like me, laughed at, ignored, dismissed. This isn't a story about money. It's a story about mindset, about rising even when nobody claps for you, about believing that you're not useless, you're just not done yet. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Start with what you have, even if all you have is pain. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe for more enticing stories from Tales Unfolded.